Back in my day, we had to stand still to heal and flex. The longsword was just a stick we used to beat the monsters to death. You whippersnappers have it too easy these days. Well, what if we did just that? But what exactly does that mean? Well, it means no attacks past 4th gen. I must stand still to heal, I can't cancel my heal. No focus mode, no slinger, no mantles, no environment traps, no sacred, no restocking during quest, no fast traveling during quest, and no rolling backwards. That's right, we could not roll backwards. And what did that mean for Longsword? Well, it meant we had the basic triangle and circle combos, we had the spirit blade combos, and we had Fade Slash, and that was it. No special sheath, no foresight, no focus strike, spirit charge, no new directional spirit slashes, no helm breaker or spirit release, and no crimson slash moves. I also won't be using Palico, so y'all can't accuse me of it being too easy, and let's start. There are times where we're forced to ride Sacred or use Slinger, but this is only for story progression, it never happens during actual combat, so it's not a big issue to me, don't yell at me. Shattercopper is the only monster where I'm forced to use Palico, but that's whatever. Old Gen Longsword was about dancing around the monster, using your Fade Slash, using your Spirit Round Slash, to just barely avoid attacks while getting your bar charged. You were forced to complete your sheath after the Spirit Round Slash, so I'll be doing that of course. Shattercopper's a great opening monster. He's goofy, he's cute, I love him, but he's not very hard, so he goes down in about 5 minutes. During that time, I gather some honey, as there's no farming in low rank, and I will be very limited in what items I can pick up without having Slinger. We beat up some bugs, then we're on to the chicken. Actually got dunked by his tail and some of his fire attacks along the way, so he just forced me to use my first potion, which doesn't go great. But eventually I do get the heal off. I love the design of Chemitrist, but I do wish he used the fire attacks more often than he does. Also, not being able to use my longsword's good moves started to make my hunt times noticeably longer. He keeps running every 5 minutes, and then I have to chase him down on foot, but he goes down in 10 minutes, which is short compared to what's going to happen later. I love Lalabrina's design. The fact that it dances and it has creepy bug animations, it's so good. I really wish it was harder though. I think the trailers fooled a lot of people into thinking it would be an Apex, and yeah, it fooled me too. The only hard part about this fight was the stinger, which comes out really fast, but other than that, it was pretty simple. After 10 minutes of whacking, it was dead. I wasn't expecting the funny monkey to come back, but I really do love its fur textures. I feel like that's been upgraded a lot since World. I got tossed around a little bit, but I never got hit by the farts or the paralysis, so it was fine, and it wasn't a bad fight at all.
After that, there's another Balahar chase section, but you would literally just do nothing and it would be a cutscene, which leads into the Balahar fight. I love the design, but I think the moveset's a little weird. He's like strangely slow, but it is so satisfying to just barely avoid its attacks. A lot of old gen hunting was knowing the monster animation so you could position yourself by the head as the monster's attack ended without getting hit. Of course that's still true in World and Wilds, but I feel like counters have kind of reduced the need to be able to position perfectly, so it's pretty fun to pick back up this more slower, intentional playstyle in a new game. And in just under 15 minutes he goes down, but the hunt times are definitely starting to pick up now. I am forced to use my slinger twice before fighting Alpha the Shagma, but it's not that big a deal. When the Shagma was first revealed, I didn't think I'd like him very much. He seemed kind of basic and not really much to it. But when I actually got to fight him a bunch, he grew on me. I like that a low tier monster kind of has like a super enraged state when he gets on low health. His attacks have a lot of personality and he hits pretty hard. Actually served me up my first cart with that big Earth Slam move he does, which I was not expecting. Kind of took me off guard, did a lot of damage, which forced me to run all the way back. Running places takes a long time without the Sacred. I did figure out how to avoid the slam by just running away, and he goes down in 15 minutes. Uthura's Apex is kind of disappointing to me. I mean, it looks so cool in the trailers, but then you get into the fight and it's just like belly flops and whale sounds, and I just wish there was more to it, like more water attacks, more giant waves, something like Namiel coded. Like the environment you fight in is cool, but just compared to the other Apexes, I feel like it's definitely lacking. Beat up a poor Gagios because it's just in the way. When it runs to the upper part of the map, there are shortcuts to get up there faster by Sacred, but I can't use Sacred, so I have to run all the way around, which takes a long time. The only attack he had that gave me trouble was like the spinny water wave thing, but I did figure out how to avoid it, so overall it wasn't a big deal at all. And I get to repel. Beat up some more bugs so I can get fluid to craft these through the Longsword, and we're on the Rumpupaloo. It's such a funny name to say. I think the idea and design for this guy is really cool, but his moveset's kind of lacking to me. It's really simple, there's not much variety, and for a Brute Wyvern I was expecting him to be a lot bigger. He's kind of tiny. Started to notice that a lot of the monsters in Wilds have attacks that don't actually trip you up or stop your attack animations. They just kind of deal a little bit of damage and then you can keep hitting the monster like nothing happened. Kind of disappointed me. I feel like it takes away a lot of the necessity to actually avoid monster attacks, you know? So you can actually hit the monster, when now you can just unintentionally face tank it and keep hitting anyway like nothing happened. But this isn't as much of a later game monster problem as it is a problem with a lot of the earlier game monsters. After beating out the whoopee cushion for just 10 minutes, he's down. But Ray Dow, on the other hand, holy soundtrack! That's the best soundtrack in Wilds to me, combined with the audio design for him and the ecology, like damn. His really fast flying wing slam thing is kind of a problem, but I did learn to dodge into it. And avoiding the big lightning strike is just a matter of a couple rolls. Of course I have to stand still to heal, but in Old Gen you have to wait for the monster to do a big attack and then heal in the downtime after that attack. And that same concept still applies in Wild, so it's not too bad to get a heal off. You just wait for the monster to give you the opening you need. It's also here that I start using roll iframes to get through roars, which is a big deal in Old Gen, and it's still present in New Gen, but not as much so. Of course, Wyvern roars like Ray Dow or Rathalos are really telegraphed, so it's not too hard to time them. And my second card comes to a poorly timed hill slide. Yay! I get through the hunt, but it takes me a new record of 20 minutes. I like Narcilla, but I really wish they added some new moves. This fight is literally exactly the same as it was in 4 Ultimate. I got slept a few times though, and it was actually really dangerous because I didn't have my Palico to save me, and I did not have energy drinks. So I just had to tank the big poison hit and then try and find an opening to use an antidote, which I did, but it definitely got really danger close at times. Love all the little baby Narcillas though, and squeaking through them with a sword feels really meaty. And then in under 15 minutes it's down. Now here Bomby's going to be an issue. Since I don't have Slinger, I don't have access to Dung Pods, which kind of forces me to just fight all 3 of them at once. This is kind of a cluster truck, but here Bomby don't actually attack all that often, so even with all 3 of them, it's pretty manageable. They do get banged around a lot though. Hirabami's unfortunately my least favorite Wilds new monster. Unlike the other flying monsters, he is just weirdly floaty and annoying to hit. He doesn't attack often enough to make it really engaging to me. After almost 20 minutes of chasing one I'm actually supposed to kill around, he goes down with no cards. The Jarkon's one of my favorite new monsters, and I completely destroyed him. At this point I was really starting to get the hang of playing the game in an old gen style, and having Palico first fight is also mandatory, making it pretty simple. Fighting the two of them at once wasn't so bad because Olivia was there to help us, and once I got one of them on his own, I just danced around it. When he went Sonic the Hedgehog mode, I just hit him with a good old Superman dive. And the hunt was finished in just a little over 10 minutes, pretty fast. In my first playthrough, Noob actually gave me a lot of trouble, but now that I know his moves, he's really not bad at all. His tentacles are very telegraphed, and overall he's just a really fun monster. The real key to being good at Monster Hunter is to just not overcommit. Like 90% of the time when a new player gets hit, it's probably just because they were trying to go for too many hits. The flow of combat is just measuring out exactly how many hits you can get away with before you need to stop. That being said, after all my talk, he did cart me once. I really wasn't expecting the amount of damage there, but I had some fun and got my revenge by taking all of his tentacles. And I finally take him down after 20 minutes. Kind of a slow time, but oh well. For the most part, I had a pretty good time against Guardian the Shagaba. He caught me off a couple of times with these retaliatory attacks. He has a pretty big stagger, but I was able to get the heals off without too much problem. It's always satisfying to position around the monster's attacks by just casually walking around it.
From its wound. That's the place to attack.
But even though I felt like I was doing pretty well, this was another 20-minute fight. He was just an absolute tank. Now, Guardian Rathalos really gave me a run for my money at first. I got hit and tossed around a bunch and went through a lot of my healing. But fighting him was just a simple matter of waiting for his long combo strings to end and then hitting him. I really like the new mechanic they added to the Wrath, where if you deal enough damage to them while they're in the air, they'll get a unique stagger animation where if you deal enough damage to them, they'll fall to the ground. I really think this version of Rathalos solved the problem of him just flying way too much and being hard to hit for melee weapons. And as someone who's usually honestly a Rathalos hater, I'm pretty happy with how he turned out in this game. And even though he gave me a lot of trouble at first, I took him down in 15 minutes with no cards. Arcveld beat me up a bit at first. The tracking on his chains is pretty strong actually, but it was good practice and I got the hang of it. Most of his stuff can just be avoided by being underneath him, and I got the repel pretty fast. I've always felt Monster Hunter kind of struggle with the huge monster fights, but as far as it goes for Jin Dahad, I don't think it's that bad. I wouldn't call him amazing because most of his attacks are pretty simplistic. He kind of just suffers from the phenomenon of 90% of his moveset just being like big stomps and body slams. But at least it's a straightforward fight and not some boring gimmick, so yay for this game not having another Zora Magdaros. I was forced to ride Sacred between areas when he transitioned, but I didn't use it during actual combat. All in all, the fight was a little tedious, just lots of whacking him for 20 minutes straight. He only has one attack I consider really dangerous, where he shoots an exploding beam of ice at your feet, and I got caught by that a bunch, and it led to my cart.
Don't get hit now. Tough it out.
The way I figured out how to deal with it was actually to iframe roll through it, which felt hype and was a really tight timing. Unfortunately, I couldn't knock it from its pillar when it went up there, since that would require me to use my slinger. And even worse, when he started charging his Nova, I couldn't knock the rocks down for cover. In the end, I decided to Superman dive and just pray. I'm not sure if a food skill saved me, or if I avoided just barely enough damage to not cart, but I survived. Guardian Odogaron was my hardest fight yet. Most of his attacks had very little end lag. Eventually I found myself hit with bleed and just had to resort to crouching to heal it. I got true comboed into an exploding wilt crystal, and that led to my 5th cart. Honestly, I kinda missed that feeling. Sometimes with older monster hunters, you would just get true comboed and there's nothing you could do about it. And it was frustrating for sure, but it was also kinda funny. I started winning against Odogaron by really taking advantage of the iframes of my rolls, and more precisely spacing and dodging through attacks. By the end of the hunt, I had him figured out, and he couldn't touch me. Since beating Odogaron leads directly into Shiwu, I wasn't allowed to restock my healing items and I just had to deal with being down potions. But in the end, that turned out to be a non-issue because I completely destroyed him. Most of his attacks are avoidable by just being right on top of him. I really liked the fight though. I was so hyped when I saw a second cephalopod monster. That was a complete surprise and wasn't in any of the trailers. And in my first playthrough, chaining multiple parries felt very satisfying. I took him down in just under 15 minutes and didn't need much healing at all.
The guild authorizes you to slay the Guardian Arkveld.
Acknowledged.
My fight against Odegaard really prepared me for Arkveld. I was iframe rolling through attacks left and right like this was Dark Souls. I did get caught out a few times, especially while trying to heal though. And unfortunately, I walked right into a woke explosion for my 6th cart. After running all the way back, I took him down in 20 minutes.
By my own order. I will slay Zoshia!
I think Zoshia is a fantastic final boss. A lot of Monster Hunter final bosses kind of suffer from being either really easy or really boring. And while Zoshia isn't terribly hard by any means, it's not just a cakewalk fight either, and it's definitely not boring. I took a part when I actually walked straight into his Nova, but overall I feel I did pretty well and took him down in 20 minutes.
Against all odds, you found another way. You hunters are incredible.
If you made it all the way here, thanks for watching. I have a lot of Elden Ring content on my channel, and I do plan to do a lot more Monster Hunter content as well. Stick around and drop a sub if you're interested. Thanks.